Hey, fellow shipwreck survivors, Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to All Will Fall, Episode 2, Growing Our Little Community. The highest priority collection is the pile of water bottles, so that my water level doesn't go down. And there is also a water silo over here. And gaining access to this water silo would give me a pretty sizable amount of water. So I am going to go to the efforts of trying to exploit that as well. With the oodles and oodles of wood that I have. Knowing that everything is refunded when it's broken down, you can definitely over-engineer solutions to gain access to new resources, because you can always break all of this down when you want the wood back. So there we go. We have a stable bridge project down to this water silo, and the only thing in between is wood rubble. And this wood rubble will be gathered soon by our demo shack. So if I chose, for instance, the cranes work similar to the fishing shack, where they collect goods that are underneath their clearance. So if this was a crane, for instance, you could collect the rubble this way by like building a crane over the rubble, and it would collect the rubble. And then the boats would only be able to collect rubble that is essentially touching the water level. So this is exactly why I like the demo huts, because it allows me to clear the blockers that are in my way without a lot of infrastructure set up like a crane. Deconstructing the environment. You can now mark broken walls and floors to gather some wood from them. This will also allow you to clear areas for your buildings. Just be careful when removing floors. So this is a result of researching the deconstruct walls for wood. So if we take a look at the deconstruction tool, some of the map tile have what is considered wooden floors. Like this is a wooden floor, for instance. And I can deconstruct this wooden floor that I wasn't able to deconstruct before for resource gain. So it expands what your demolitionists can destroy. Here is a pile of gas tanks, which I can salvage for gas, which is another resource that's going to be more important a little bit later on. Same with metal and tools and the like. Or I can detonate it to immediately get some wood. Obviously, I'd rather have the gas. All right, the next one is having a roof makes you happier. So if you take a look at the individual houses here, their quality is controlled by comfort, decor, roofing, and windows. I don't currently have the access to windows, but what I can do is add roofing. And in order to make them happier, I can either put a roof per house, filling up the roof requirement fully, or if I wanted to go sort of the discount way, I could fill half the roofing requirements by splitting the roof on 2 shacks. But because I have the wood, I might as well do it this way. Can you break things down if they're flooded? Somewhat. You can destroy some that are within the top few layers of water, so like down a meter or 2. But if I built like a pylon of wood 16 stories down, I'd only be able to break down like the top layer or 2. I've increased their happiness enough to unlock my first perk. So, as a result, the workers are now above happiness 8, they're 11, because their housing quality has gone up, right? So housing quality used to be like 0.3, and now it's 3.8. And as a result, their max happiness has gone up, and they can now carry more stuff. Which is great, because, well, the Demolition Hut has them carrying a lot of stuff. They're obviously got their hands full pretty regularly. And here I'm trying to set it up so that, again, fully get rid of all the rubble that's in my way, rather than using explosives, which are an inefficient way of getting resources. Next research project. I really prefer fishing boats as a way to get food. So I'm going to choose fishing boats for myself rather than have you guys pulled on it. One of the disadvantages of relying on fishing huts is having to constantly move your fishing hut gets really old really fast. Technically it's efficient because you can always pick it up and move it, but having to remember to move it constantly is like a problem that I'd rather solve with fishing boats. If you build a room below water level, can you drain the water to make it usable? No, not that I know of. Overlays and height meter. So I've already showed you this, but the height meter allows you to slice. Oh, and hold on, before this collapses, because this is no longer supported, I'll just delete it. The top floor was using the rubble as a weight supply. So without it, it was going to collapse. All right. The current goal is to increase the happiness to 15 of at least one social group. So one way to do this is if we take a look at the houses here. The comfort and decor of these houses are not nearly high enough. And it could be better. So one thing that we can do after the fishing boat research is done is research ways to make people happier. Through leisure, through comfort, through decor. Alternatively, we can offer them more food and water, but that's rather expensive because if you ever take that away, they're upset. So it's best to not go that route if you can help it, in my opinion. And what I've been doing over in this section... Oh, speaking of which, I think... I don't want this destroyed. Abort. The demolition hut over here is done with all the demolition that it had. So I'm going to move this demolition hut to over this section and then move the resource stockpile that it was using to this section so that we can start to get rid of the debris in this area. Actually, I want to get the debris blocking the water most, so I'll set this back down to medium. There we go. Because having access to this giant water silo would be great, although the water level will go back up, so I'll lose access to this soon. If you stack houses, does the roof count for the houses underneath it? You know what? I don't know. That's a very fine question. How about we find out? I can do it like this. Yes, it works. Roofing's fulfilled. So you can go like Timberborn style of stacked housing if you want. As long as you don't lose stability vertically. Oh, we also now have the overlay over here. So this overlay does a lot of things. One of the nice things is it shows you the high stress stability. So for instance, this house has the lowest stability. Clicking on the house itself, you wouldn't actually be able to see the stability, whereas like the stability of like bridges you can see from a distance. So this shows you what is most at risk, which is a nice overlay. And then there's a bunch of other overlays of like where you can sail. So like if parts of the ocean are inaccessible due to debris or something. This overlay is support beams. So it's the support structures you can hide if you want. We've got the socket display, which is like what attachment points are available for structures, because you can attach things to the side of the houses. Or to display sockets for everything, which is overwhelming. Warning bubbles, boat warning bubbles, citizen bubbles, where they have citizen warnings and other bubbles. Leave those on. They alert you when things are wrong. And then when you're also building, you have like a voxel display that you can turn on and off. But the stability one I do find pretty useful. So now we are about to go through a high tide, which means the people working down here are going to be at risk. So we're going to want to wrap this wooden rubble removal. And then I'm going to straight up say, don't gather from this water silo because the water level is coming. High tide incoming. Run. It's going up 4 meters. So we're not going to want to be anywhere low. One of the benefits that happens during high tide is we'll often wash up debris, which can be gathered more easily. So we'll see that in just a moment. Also, my fishing hut no longer has boost. It's worth noting. I don't necessarily need to get a solution for that right now, but at some point I'm going to want to either add more fishing huts to keep up with our food demand, or alternatively seek out schools of fish. All right. We have just researched fishing boat, and I'm going to research woodcatcher next. So with fishing boats, the way fishing boats work is they need a dock and a boat. The dock allows the boat to drop off resources. So I'll put a dock here, and then the boat is what actually does the collection. So this is a fishing boat. I'll put a fishing boat down there. Now your dock can only, as the water level changes, your dock can only service boats that are within a certain depth from it. So you're probably going to have multiple fishing docks at multiple levels to gain accessibility. On top of that, I'm going to take 2 sailors out of this gathering hut and employ them as fishermen. And then I'm going to take 2 engineers out of this fishing hut. And I am going to send these engineers over to this event bubble. The event box over here. Yeah, here we go. As you can see, the water level is raised, and the water silo is like shoulder deep water. It would not be safe for anyone to going down there. And pretty soon I'm going to lose access to like some of the lower levels over here as well. My demolitionists. Let's get rid of some of these hand railings. And then we'll work on the debris on top of the tower. So, tower debris. I am going to use ladders for this. Even though they have movement speed penalties, I think it's fine. So this is going to be an instance right here where these guys, I'm going to tell them to stop gathering so that they exfiltrate the area, because it's not going to be safe for them to be there for much longer. Is there a way to disable pathing in certain areas that might be dangerous? Well, like I just did, I basically told them not to work here. So that would be the way to do it. Alright. We're under attack. Captain, help. The whole sky is filled with seagulls and they're crapping all over us. So here's another choice where we can make some traps and nets. It costs us junk. We gain food. Sharpen the sticks. It costs us wood. We gain food. Catch them with your hands. It costs loyalty. We gain food. Or run for your life. And it gains influence. I'm going to gain influence in this case because I am doing pretty okay on food. And I'd rather build up influence because influence can be spent when you have a really tough decision to make to avert some of the worst consequences of that decision. So here's an example. All of this this floating wood is now, because of the high tide, accessible for the gatherers to gather. off of this shipping container and these stairs. So all of this new influx of material we're only getting as a consequence of the high tide. All right. So there might be a case where some of the infrastructure I've built is... Yeah, so here, this is too low. I'm not able to deconstruct this section. It is, as I was explaining, once it's below sea level enough, you lose the ability to recycle. And then what I really like is, and obviously in real life it wouldn't happen this fast, but the wood that is underwater is now covered in like, you know, sea growth. Word spreads. Word is spreading about your colony. People are coming here looking for a chance to survival. So here is one of the reasons I like to build up influence. We can welcome everyone, which we gain citizens and influence. And I don't know what citizens it is, just 4 random ones. We can say, hey, we're full, and everyone loses happiness. I can say, if you can pay, you can stay. We gain citizens and goods. Or I can be tough and say, leave your supplies and move along. We gain water, food, junk, goods, and I lose influence. In this case, for now, I'm going to say we welcome everyone, because I can definitely support 4 more people. The additional people is not an issue. But I definitely end up using leave your supplies and move along a lot late game when I don't want population growth. But I do want supplies. So welcome everyone. We got 2 sailors and 2 engineers. I'm going to immediately employ them in the gathering hut, which is a good place to overflow. And then build 2 more houses. And then so that their houses aren't lower quality than the other houses. And if you're wondering why there's space between these 2 houses, it's done intentionally for decor and comfort reasons. You'll see soon. And then this house here is not accessible because I've partially blocked the door. Because I have a lot of wood, it would not be necessarily a bad idea to fully support the buildings above. And let's check out the stability overlay now. Yeah, the houses that were on the corner, it was a lot more stable now than it was before. And I could probably increase it even more by having a vertical column. Like, well, that might actually not do very much, but like a vertical column with supports like this. Might help a bit as well. So let's see. It would, but the bottom support block here is not supported, so... And this is one of the things that I've noticed is, like, stability support for a game that's all about stability support. I have found some, like, finicky bugs with it. I don't know what to say about that. Alright, so the high tide event is over, and the high tide event generally sort of recalculates your access to fishing schools and the like, and I actually don't see anything super interesting around right now. Can you build anything other than wood? Yes. You'll be able to eventually build out of metal, concrete, etc. So I just researched the woodcatcher, and I would like to get the junk catcher too. So the way the woodcatcher works is as long as you have clearance, people that work in the woodcatcher will just gather wood slowly. It's a way to guarantee some wood income. It's not efficient by any means, but it prevents you from ever running out of that as a resource. So I'm going to build a woodcatcher here. The quest didn't seem to register that I built the last boat. It's because I didn't build a boat. I built a fishing trawler. This is a fishing boat, so it's different enough that it didn't trigger. It's fine. I don't need to finish that. All right, in order to build this thing, I need a bunch of junk, and I don't have a lot of junk. So, where am I going to find junk? Well, there's junk here. So, let's get there, shall we? Nice. Stable enough that it's not going to collapse on us. And then this allows us to... And this is why you'd want a lot of wood, obviously. This allows us to build... let's see. We're going to get through these walls and get to this pile of junk. There's also floating junk here. So for the floating junk, if you're wondering, you can collect it by building supports. So like I could build supports like this. And also have access to collecting this junk now. Because it's floating next to the pier. My current demo house still has stuff to do. So I am not necessarily going to bring them over here and repurpose them in this location. But this floating pile of junk is currently accessible. It's pathable. So I can have my people start getting that now. And that will allow us to research the electric junk catcher. All right, you have an issue. So, your issue is I failed to gather some collection paths. Let's figure out what. I'm going to say don't collect that. Don't collect this stuff. And I've resolved her issue. If you ever have them trying to path to something that they physically can't get to, they'll throw up a flag like that. And say, yo, I can't do whatever you're asking me to do. It's unpathable. Come up with a different priority for me. So the sections that are blocking the junk are going to be high priority salvage. And here's a question. I have two options here. One is I can use a significant portion, 3/4 of my influence, to say, have you heard of the starvation diet? Or two, I can say, be grateful that you're alive and they'll lose happiness. Or three, I can offer everybody double rations. Should I offer everyone 2 meals a day? So, what are the ramifications of this? At the moment, I'm only offering them 1 meal a day. So if I offered them 2 meals a day, their happiness would go up. If I commit to that, my food consumption doubles, and I'm going to need to accommodate for that doubling of the food consumption. And if I negate this request with influence or loyalty, I prevent it It's also worth noting, and I did say this before, that as soon as you start giving them 2 meals a day, if you try to take it away, they're going to be a lot less pissed than if you don't offer it in the first place. Just throwing that out there.
Yes.
All right. Looks like you guys want to offer the meals a day. So here's what we do. We go to each group and say you can consume up to 2 meals a day. They won't immediately start consuming the 2 meals a day. They only eat at certain periods of the day. But you'll see that the food production and consumption will get thrown out of whack. So I'm going to have to adjust for that. But you'll also see the numbers of workers, engineers, and sailors reaching 2 food a day climbing. Because I have 2 days to be able to meet their food needs or negate it with either loyalty or influence. Alright, it seems to me like I have some gatherers that are idle. Idle gatherers or gatherers that are being paid to do nothing, so let's fix that. Building up some piers to access more gathering spots. We also have a mysterious building. It is the top. Where the hell is it? Well, whatever. It's the top of a building. Oh, there it is, over here. A top of a mysterious structure. I don't know what it is yet. So we'll have to wait and see as the water level lowers. Waterworld fun times? Yep. And I'm building more temporary piers to support gathering of resources. Now, there is this citizens of a flood zone. It's like knee-deep water, so I'm not particularly concerned about their welfare. We, for reference, have 16 out of 16 people. So I'll keep an eye on making sure that they don't, like, wash away or die. But, like, as I was saying before, I really don't see that happening very often. It's not something that, like, I typically experience. Okay, research got done for the electric junk catcher. So this is just like the wooden junk catcher, but what is fundamentally different is it does require power. So I'm also going to research the wooden wind turbine, which is a slightly more efficient way of providing power over than the human-sized hamster wheel. Now, the electric junk catcher needs the same sort of clearance that the wooden one does. I'm just going to put them side by side because I have my supplies right here. And these are getting installed so that if I ever bottom out, if I ever don't have any more junk or wood left, they're not efficient. It's way better to have gatherers and the like getting the resources rather than like trying to fish it up from the seafloor. But it's better than nothing. And in this case, I think what I'm going to do is take 2 engineers off the... Well, actually, no, I don't have power yet. Never mind. Jumping the gun. Oh, yeah. So we got through that wall, and now we have the other pile of junk. Nice. So this bridge has absolutely served its purpose. The other thing we can do, if we need more junk, is to build an additional pier system out to the other junk piles. Because, of course, when the water level recedes, these pile of junk will then recede as well. Meaning that they're more accessible now than they will be when the water level goes down, because then I'll need, like, bottom ramps. Those stairs aren't needed anymore. And my engineers here, or my working demolitionists, are slowly destroying all of the sort of like debris and rubble around this area to free it up for construction. That's what I like to do really early on in the game, is to ready all of the structures that you start off with, freeing up its floor space so that you can do whatever you want with it. Because as you free it up, then you can build as you desire. And as you can see, water levels, as they are, it's really only safest to build at like max or roughly max elevation levels. If you build too far underwater, you're going to flood all those buildings, and that will be a disaster for your people. Now, here's another, like, weird life hack, if you will. Because you get full refunds when you break stuff down, if you run out of inventory space, you can just, like, build a whole bunch of wooden planks to be destroyed later. Basically, store wood in structures, in support structures. I mean, why not, right? Alright, looking good. Captain, the sea level is falling. Got it? And now, this junk is not anywhere where we can grab it. The water, however, gonna be really easy. And then the other thing, which is neat, is, as you can see, there was this floating wood small that ended up landing on my platform. So I essentially caught it. What I could have done in this case is built supports underneath these junk piles to prevent them from floating down. I didn't do that, obviously, but I could have. Maybe one day we will walk on the ground again. So, research for the wind turbine got done. And what I want to do next is research leisure buildings, because I'm trying to make one of my social groups at least happiness 15. But also, I would like to start generating power so I can, or at least get this built, so that if I run out of junk or run out of wood, I can generate wood or junk on demand. So in order to gain access to this area, we are going to need to build a little bit of infrastructure, I think. And because when you have a wind turbine like this, someone needs to be physically working it. You want it set up in such a way that the commute there is tolerable. So I'm going to move my water storage here. Go move my food here and my boiler here. So, in this case, we have just a stairwell all the way up to the wind turbine. And I laid planks across the top of, planks and supports across the top of these collectors, which doesn't matter. That's something that's pretty cool, is you can use them as foundational structures for other structures. And we're getting this wind turbine built, which will produce power per day. It doesn't actually need to be wired up to your electric junk catcher. But if someone's working the turbine and working the junk catcher, we will have junk income. Because right now my junk income is really bad. I'm going to fire 2 of my engineers. And instead hire 1 to work the wind turbine, the other to work the junk catcher, and then 1 of my gatherers to work the junk catcher too. So that I start to get income of junk. What I could also be doing is trying to seek out specific junk out here to fetch, like I did here. So there's junk right here that I could fetch. That's not too far away from my my currently built infrastructure. So let's go ahead and path to that. And then we can use the elevation cut to find any more junk. So there's junk here, which I'll gain access to once the water silo's gone. Or I could build around it, but I'd rather just wait for this water silo to go. There's junk down here, but it's partially flooded, so it's a little dangerous to get. And then in this floor, water and an event. And underneath that is water. Okay. Would you like to buy some people? A wandering trader has come to our settlement. Prepare to die, scum. Yeah. I'm not a slaver. So, as a result of that, we liberated 2 people. We saved them from the slaver. And then we subsequently have made everyone happier, pushing the workers up to 2nd tier, which means that for each worker that I have in the colony, unfortunately they're my lowest population group, but for each worker we have in the colony, I'll gain influence per day per person. And then, as a result of that consequence, we did get the Beacon of Hope, which allows us to send out rescue parties for new people. So it allows you to actively search for people to join. And let's get those people employed. New research. So the next leisure here consumes things like food for leisure. So it's really only to be done when you have an excess of whatever resource it's consuming, which I currently don't. So in order to raise happiness, I'm going to research decorations, which allows you to spruce up your houses for them to look prettier. And then it also unlocks higher tier houses, which are larger and more comfortable. We have 1 engineer without job. Let's put them in the woodcatcher. I know I will need more food soon. So it might be a good idea to buy a 2nd fishing boat. Or alternatively, I don't actually see... Oh no, there's schools of fishes out there. So yeah, let's get another fishing boat. And that means firing this engineer, finding where the sailors work. Whereas if you mouse over the social group, you can find where they work. So there's 2 sailors here. And putting the 2 sailors in the grandma fishing boat. Cheers. Thank you for tuning in to All Will Fall, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you in the next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow settlement builders.